I hope that people learn a lot from the festival, like to be more tolerant of people, to open themselves up to wider cultures and languages and people.
From this festival, World in Westminster, I hope that we all learn to connect with communities that we're not familiar with. We sort of connect with that common humanity so that we can become sustainable citizens, more sustainable citizens every day, and bring forth the sustainable world that we want.
I hope that people will learn from the festival to, embrace the diversity and inclusion that comes, with different cultures. We talked about how hard it is for Latino communities to, kind of find their space here in London, because the cultures are so different between Latino and just like Northern Europe in general, and also try to overcome the stereotypes that come with Latino countries. Usually stereotyped to negative ones, but we're trying to kind of make people understand that we're so much more.
We love to share our culture today, to explain to everyone how we live our lifestyle and our traditions, our food, our music. We put some music on so everyone can listen to what we usually put in our festivals, and we shared it with everyone, and I hope everyone liked it.
From this festival, what I hope people will learn, and I've learned myself, is that diversity is something we cannot take for granted, but diversity is something that we have to nurture, cultivate, and work towards.
Just kind of here to share my experience, who I am, what I went through from my school and the background, and also just talking about, talented people who have dyspraxia, dyslexia, any other neurodivergence, and ways to help. I hope that people will learn that this is a safe and confidential space for us to share our experiences of neurodiversity. We talked a lot about intersectionality. So gender, race, ethnicity, and dyspraxia, dyslexia. I hope that people can share their experiences, find someone that they can trust, and hopefully they can get the resources and the help that they need to kind of flourish. There are a lot of talented individuals who have hidden disabilities, so to speak, that are slighted by the system. However, hopefully we can be solutions focused, move forward, and come up with ideas and create spaces like this where, we can hear people's stories, give the support and share the message and move forward with this.
Well, the festival is a fantastic idea, and the bit that I saw of it, I came into the building and the first thing I noticed was the welcome that I got from colleagues here, bringing me a bowl of fruit. That was amazing anyway. And I think in the session that we did today, one of the things that we did is find out where in the world people identified with, and just hearing people celebrate where they come from, literally, metaphorically, culturally, and why they love that. It really seemed to build a sense of community here at Westminster. Well, specifically today we were talking about neurodiversity in our session, and I think what's important is neurodiversity is global, and that gives us the opportunity to think about how we learn in different contexts and different spaces. My understanding of learning has come through my own heritage, and sometimes when we look at that through a narrow range, we miss out on all the talents that people bring from elsewhere in the world. What I'm hoping is the event today is people saw themselves in the content, they certainly seem to, and if they need support, they know where to go, but also it gives them an opportunity to talk about their strengths and celebrate who they are.
What I would really want deeply is for people to understand and have real awareness of what neurodiversity is, but also understanding those lived experience of what that looks like and how a person can show up and maybe not be their authentic self because of the systematic barriers that are in play and those layers from an intersection lens as well. So I really want people to have that understanding, to have some real awareness to how they can make change in terms of some of those barriers that are restricting people to be themselves.
I think what I'd hope people who would learn from today's event would the importance of dialogue, the importance of the positive stories as well as all the negative stories that we tend to hear far too many of in relation to refugees, the ability of refugees to make positive contributions and live positive lives within the UK. I think that's stories that aren't heard very much, and we need to hear more of them.
I hope people learn from events like this is the necessity of recognizing that refugee populations need support in settling into a community which they are unfamiliar with. And secondly, to recognize the benefits and the richness which refugee communities bring with them. So
I hope people have understood more about what is being a refugee is like, and how can refugees go through very difficult times, but they can always overcome difficulties.
I think the rhetoric that we get from the media, popular media, isn't such a great one. So for me, it was really important to help normal refugee communities to be able to come and speak about their stories and their journeys, and to show that they're as normal or abnormal as anyone else.
So what I've hoped people have learned from the event today is that understanding that there are so many ways to begin, there are so many skill sets that could be learned, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you always need money as an ulterior goal or as a motive to do the thing that you love. Time passes whether you're doing something or nothing, so essentially you might as well do something and just create for the sake of creating.
I hope that we are all going to leave just being so confident in our side hustle, whatever that is, whether it's something that started yesterday or whether it's something that happened 5 years ago, and just being confident that change is part of the process. I think when I started talking about changing your job or changing your role or changing your hours, there was a real electricity in the room that was like, yes, change is part of the process. So yeah, I just hope that anyone who's come today just feels really encouraged to keep on doing whatever you're doing, and we'll see what happens next.
I think for me, I just really want people to come away from this event feeling inspired and empowered to just get out of their heads and just go for it. I think a lot of the time we limit ourselves as humans by overthinking things and, just thinking about all the ways it could go wrong, but I think we really need to focus on how it can go right and how great that could be.
I've learned so much from this year's festival. I think that the festival is one of those key opportunities where we step outside our familiar comfort zone and hear stories, narratives from people that we don't normally meet. So today, for example, I've had a fantastic time hearing about the refugee experience in the UK from some young refugees, one of whom is a student at Westminster, and I've heard some fantastic stories of side hustle and black side hustle in particular, that have completely transformed my understanding of what it's like to have a portfolio career and to take chances and be brave in one's career in a way I would never have had the nerve to do. So it's been a real day of learning today.
I think the festival provides a lot of people with a sense of community from depending on what kind of staff or student you are, your race, your gender. There's so many events going on. There's always a place for you where you can go and just feel a part of that community that you already belong to. But yeah, this is something for everyone.
I think World of Westminster is really good in that it just makes you so much more aware of how many different communities there are in our little community of Westminster. And I think it's fascinating to hear others talk about their culture. It's like others talking about their home.
I feel London, it can be very challenging to find a sense of community in London. However, I believe that by sharing our experiences, there are so many common grounds that we can have, that we actually can, discover with different cultures as well. For example, there are so many other minority communities that maybe face the same stereotypes that we do, and if you talk about it and embrace that, there's a way, to find common grounds and actually find something in common between each other. So, absolutely.
Definitely brought us together, and it made us feel despite being from different cultures, we all have a lot of similarities, and our differences don't necessarily make us different humans. We're all at the end the same, and we just learn how to share things with each other.
What the festival does is it reminds us that we need to work together if we want to cultivate diversity, and we need to work together to make the culture within the university and beyond the university inclusive. So the fact that students and colleagues are working together itself is the biggest achievement here.
How I hope this will contribute to a sense of community is spreading the word, having people having the conversations, not just here, but also in boardrooms, employment, policy makers in workplace. So I think at a broader level, a macro level, so to speak. And yeah, so hopefully that we can kind of strive for that.
They help because they're here and they happen. And if it gives people the safe space to step forward and actually say, I'm here, I deserve to be here, and I'm different, and that's what's great about me. This is the difference that difference can make, then that's a positive. What I'm also interested in is not just about celebrations, but how they help us move into the changes that we need to see so that the world is a place where everybody can thrive.
I think the sense of community is key in everything, and you want people to feel they belong. So having a sense of community and belonging, and having that student a kind of community and staff community and everyone coming together does give a sense of belonging. I think that's really important, because once someone feels they belong, they feel like they are part of that community, and that's really important, because I know what that feels like to not feel like you belong. And this is just really, I think, a really good way forward in terms of making change and breaking barriers and just really having the conversation.
I think that events like this lead to a heightened sense of community by the ability of people to come together and share their views, share their stories, learn from other takes, other stories and other ideas. I think that's a tremendously positive thing.
How I feel that events like this contribute to my sense of community. Well, we're all global citizens. There's no us and them. Events like today contribute to our sense of community. Events like today contribute to our recognition of how diverse the world is. But diversity isn't a bad thing. Diversity is a good thing. Diversity adds to the richness in our lives. Diversity helps us understand each other more.
I think this event made me and my other friends and colleagues as well come a bit closer to each other, because we all shared our experiences and how we've been through difficulties and overcome them.
I think we talk a lot about sense of belonging, bringing your whole self to work, and sense of community and public engagement. I think we talk a lot around that, but what it means in effect is to talk to people that we haven't necessarily engaged with. And this is an opportunity for a lot of people to meet with people that they hadn't actually met with before, people from different backgrounds.
Events like today contribute to my sense of community, because not only does it bring everyone with a similar interest under one roof, but you're also imparting wisdom with another, which means that everyone leaves with something more than they came in. So they get to share that with the world. It's a knock-on effect. And yeah, without events like this, we wouldn't be able to pass on this good spirit.
Oh, these events are so good for community, because you need to bring people together to hear what's going on, because often you're just at home thinking, am I going mad? And then the minute someone says, oh, I've had this thought and I didn't think it would happen, you are in this place to say, do it. But then when you've got to say the same thing to yourself, you can almost fumble and crumble. So these events are so good for community. You meet different people, you hear about different side hustles, you collaborate with people, and all of that just comes back into community. So these events, they're really, really important.
So events like today contribute to my sense of community by being able to talk to people who are in the same bracket as me, people that want to do a side hustle, people that are side hustling already, and people that are curious. I think it's really nice to talk to people all different stages, and it actually empowers me just speaking about my journey and reminding myself why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I definitely doubt myself sometimes. So yeah, that's why today's event was really important for me.
The University of Westminster is a community and a mix of diverse communities. And I think that my own sense of being part of that community was incredibly reinforced by seeing so many different people, colleagues, students, speakers, who all have a different perspective on Westminster and the world in Westminster and the world outside Westminster.
In so many ways, it brings people together to Westminster, and it also connects us with people outside of Westminster around the world, connects us with so many different people and cultures again, so that everyone feels welcome and like they belong.
So World of Westminster is all about global and local diversity, and I think what's so cool about it as well is that it's connecting these local communities to the global human community. So I think it does that really well. So today I'll just be speaking very briefly about my work regarding the Sustainable Development Goals. I'll be introducing our annual Sustainable Development Goals report and just highlighting some key case studies that I think showcase our brilliance in championing and empowering communities.
I feel the festival celebrates global and local diversity by first of all, including people who are from including people from different backgrounds, to have a chance to speak and tell their stories, and also share their experiences, which is important to have, because if we always get, a certain race, a certain ethnicity to speak about other people, that is not diversity.
The festival celebrates diversity by teaching us that our differences bring us together, and they just show us that just because we don't do things the same way doesn't mean that we can't do them the same way. We can all just enjoy together, whether it was food, whether it was music, whether it was traditions, anything, we can all share it. That's the beauty of it.
Diversity is not only here within our university or in London or in the UK, but throughout the world. And our student body and staff body is very diverse. The way in which this festival celebrates diversity is by bringing people together, encouraging them to be who they are, and derive pride from it.
This helps where we have people that look like me. For example, my mum, Miss Janet Morgan, leading the events. We have different faces or different ethnicities who come to the events. So I think also looking at, we kind of say diversity role models, who lead in, who lead in the charge. That's a sure way of kind of like, making a contribution to society globally, domestically.
I feel when you start talking about identity and culture, it helps people to understand our differences, but also understand how we have commonalities and, common shared interest. So, I could be in this community but be from East London, which I am from, but then I'll meet somebody else who's from East London. So we have that common ground together, but we may have differences in that. But how do we come together to, have a voice and to advocate for what we want as students and also what we want for our community, which is our university? So those are things I think it's really good and really bold of the university to start making those changes to make a difference, sort of long-lasting, legacy really as well.
I think that events like this really shine a light on global diversity, and I think again by giving opportunities for people to learn other understandings and to learn some of the difficulties as well as some of the successes, that leads to positive dialogues.
Events like today celebrate local and global diversity in encouraging us to think about ourselves and our location, our position in the world. We are all global citizens. There's no us and them. There's no you or I. We are all together. Recognizing diversity helps us to be sensitive to other people's needs. Recognizing diversity helps us to be aware of how the world is made up of many parts, and also to support people who are different to us, because essentially we are all the same.
So basically every one of us spoke different, not every one of us, but most of us spoke different languages. I speak 2 languages, my friend speaks 4 languages, we all coming from different backgrounds. So I think just being together in one room and talking about our experiences has really actually bring us together more.
We're global. Well, diversity, I think, sometimes is a term that gets bandied around, but I think the importance is that we're being inclusive of all the types of people that are in our communities. And with Mariam particularly, she's part of our university community, and I wanted her to feel that sense that she belongs here, so she brought her family and she brought her friends to be able to share this event with her. You know, to share that with her today was actually really special.
So I hope events like this can help to celebrate global and local diversity by not only diversity in the panel, not only diversity in the attendees, but diversity in the school of thought, diversity in the way that we communicate. And again, whether that's an international member, whether that's an international audience, and with it being online or on YouTube, it means that it can be accessed worldwide. So information and the sharing of knowledge can be endless.
These events celebrate global diversity because when you are black and you don't see yourself and you don't hear yourself and you ain't got rooms of people like yourself, you're finally like, okay, I found my people, I found my stories, and they're being celebrated, they're being uplifted, and then you don't have to explain yourself to the nth degree because there's people in the room who get you quick. And I think it's just the honesty and the transparency that you can bring to the conversation that enables other people to be honest about whatever process they're going through as well. So it's a celebration of diversity because you're actually asking for diverse stories. We don't want the same story anymore. We want to hear different people talk. We want to hear different experiences and bring it all to the table. It's valid.
So I think today's event contributes to local and global diversity by speaking to people from all areas of life and making people's story relatable to them. You know, having people of colour on the panel is very, very important. Having representation across the board is extremely important locally and globally, and I think discussions like this really do need to continue in order to celebrate diversity.
I think that for me, one of the things about this festival is that we're really keen to celebrate both global and local diversity. And I think we really got that today because we heard people talking about their work and their life in London. We heard people talking about how they came to London. Earlier in the week, I was at a fantastic session celebrating Latin American culture, and it was really interesting to hear our students talking about what life was like in different countries within Latin America and how that culture has translated into London and how they felt as people from Latin America when they came to London for the first time. So I think that we are really all about the local and the global and bringing those things together.